Well, hello and welcome. We are getting to the home stretch of the Accelerated Growth Program. This is your 10th class, I believe. And where you are now is step 8 and step 9. So let's go over the steps really quick just to give you a little bit of a review. You did a trigger log, then you did a reflection paragraph, kind of pulling together the things you learned from your trigger log. Then from what you learned in your trigger log, you identified an unmet need to focus on in your empowerment log. You spent some time observing how you get your unmet need met and what your thoughts do, and you empowered yourself to get that need met, and then you reflected on that. And as you learned things from your empowerment log, you were able to identify your scarcity belief. Once you identified your scarcity belief, you moved that to an abundance log. And your abundance log was your chance to actively look for evidence in the world that turned your scarcity belief into an abundance belief. Then you reflected again on what you're noticing, what you're experiencing, how you've been shifting. And now you're moving into the conscious practice stage. So one of the things we talked about in the last video is writing down in your reflection paragraph what you want to consciously practice. Conscious practice isn't really a lot of work physically, so it shouldn't take a lot of time out of your day, but it is a matter of thinking about this. Just thinking about it every day. So you want to think of what is some way to keep what you're doing present of mind. And that's why some people choose to stay in the Aspire Group program after they're done with the intensive part of this process, so that they continue to take 2 accelerated growth classes every month, or get some coaching, or do something, even if it's a minimal amount, to continue to keep this present of mind. Just having phone calls where you hear other people talking about this will remind you and keep your own shifts present of mind. So that's one excellent way to keep this in your mind. Another way might be to meditate every night, or develop some kind of practice of journaling or reminding yourself. You'll have access to these videos and to the web page that has all the videos listed, so you can re-listen to the videos anytime you want, and that will be a helpful way to keep it present of mind. But your main goal is to keep things present of mind. And of course, one way of keeping things present of mind is to review. So again, a review. Here's a sample trigger log. You can always, by the way, go back and continue to record things in your trigger log. I tend to keep an ongoing trigger log, and I may go months without using it. But then every once in a while, I say, I want to have a leap in my growth, and I'll go back and I'll log some triggers. Or if I'm noticing that I'm getting triggers, I'll go back and log some triggers. So this is what your trigger log looked like. Once you filled it out with a few things, you had some things to notice. What were the emotions? What were the strengths of the emotions? What were the things that you most needed in the moment? What were your thoughts? Then you reflected on those, and you used those patterns to identify an unmet need to work on. Then you used your empowerment log, and in your empowerment log, the unmet need that you chose to work on, you started noticing times that you felt that need to varying degrees. When did you let it in? How much? When did you let it in strongly? When did you not let it in at all? When did you not receive it? When did you allow yourself to receive it? So you have gathered all sorts of data on when you got that need met a lot, when you got that need met a little bit, when you didn't get that need met at all, and what the situation was, what your thoughts were, and how your thoughts were contributing to the degree that you were able to get the need met or not. And this, hopefully, was extremely enlightening to you. As you continued with your empowerment log, we also did some background classes on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So you begin to understand how important needs are and getting your needs met to the whole process of growth. Essentially, when we have a lot of unmet needs, we tend to be very reactive. To other people, it looks like we're really immature. So when we grow, we get our needs met, it actually looks to other people like we're getting more mature. If we're a leader in an organization, it looks to people like we're moving from being all about us to all about our team, and we develop a much stronger leadership presence. What ends up happening is our energy changes. When we are very reactive because we have holes in our needs, we have a lot of unmet needs, then we're stressed out, we're frenzied, and people pick up on that energy and they don't like being around us because being around us just stresses them out. But when we have our needs met, we tend to feel this feeling of well-being, and people pick up on that feeling and they want to be around us. And if you're a leader, they want to follow you. We talked about how some needs feel scarce in the world to us. So getting the need met is easier said than done because we have a belief that the need is not available to us out in the world. So we had to dig deeper and go into, well, why don't we believe that we can get this need met? And we talked about the multi-level belief model. This belief model tells you how you formed your beliefs that told you that you couldn't get these needs met. We talked about in your family system how you had some initial needs that weren't met, and you had to come up with a reason why they weren't getting met, but you had to do it from the perspective of a very young child in a very small family environment that at that time was your representation of the world and your only representation of the world. You were missing a lot of data from that perspective, but you still had to come up with a worldview based on that data, and your worldview was likely wrong, but there was nobody to tell you that, and you continued to operate that way. So usually when you end up with situations where there are certain patterns in your life, certain areas where you're frustrated or banging your head against the wall, it's because you're caught up in behavior patterns or survival strategies that you can't seem to stop even though they don't make sense and they're not serving you in the world. And although many coaching programs will deal with these up here by giving you lots of tools, you will never change this behavior unless you change the beliefs that actually drive the behavior. So that's what the program you're in now does. It helps you identify the beliefs and helps you change them. And so that's what you did. You used your empowerment log and you used the thoughts to help you discover what your beliefs were. And then you reflected on that and created an abundance log. The abundance log, you identified the scarcity belief that's holding you back from getting your needs, and you thought about what an abundance belief would be that you'd like to consider, and then you started gathering evidence. So this is what your abundance log looked like. And then you began to reflect on the shifts you were experiencing as you gathered all of this evidence. So some of the shifts that you should be experiencing are noticing that situations happen that you might have reacted to a couple of months ago, but you're not reacting to as much anymore. Or noticing that people are doing things that you might have taken personally in the past, but now you're feeling a little bit more detached from it. So those are some examples of the things that you should be noticing. In general, as you get your needs met, what you notice is less anxiety, less frustration, less drain, less exhaustion, more joy, more relaxation, more engagement, more happiness, etc., etc. So you notice more of the good feelings and the sense of well-being and confidence, and you notice a lot less of the stressed out feelings that felt negative and draining in the past. But it is a process, and that's the thing to keep in mind. If we, again, use this model of our unmet needs being that sun shining in, what we're imagining now is that we've gotten all the tools we need to realize that we can open this door. Before we were sitting in this room, we didn't realize we had any power to open that door. But now we know that we can open the door and let the sun in. But we also know that we have to open it up slowly because we've been out of the sun for so long that our eyes would be in terrible pain if we opened it too fast and let it blind us. So we're going to take our time step by step, but we're going to take our time consciously, and that's what the conscious practice is. You want to keep this present of mind. What will happen if you don't keep it present of mind is you'll just forget about it. You'll just forget about it and move on and fall back into your old behavior patterns. You're just now probably getting a toe in that door, and so if you want to open it, the conscious practice is really a practice of awareness, of remembering, and of continuing to notice times when you might have normally reacted, but you're not reacting anymore. Noticing times when you're telling yourself a story and realizing that it is a story, not necessarily reality. So those are the types of things that you'll do during your conscious practice phase. We're almost to the home stretch. We have a couple more videos in the series, and we're getting to the plateau stage, which is really fun. Look forward to talking with you again soon.